Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Bobby, and today we're here at Haji Lane in Singapore to talk a little bit about photography once again, but street photography, and about a camera that's designed for the streets. That's right, we're talking about the Ricoh GR3. Now, I want to thank Cathay Photo for making this video possible. They were the ones that provided us the camera. Now, Cathay Photo has been a staple in Singapore photography and videography for the past 60 years. So anything you need for cameras, video equipment, anything you need, they pretty much have it. But having said that though, these are our thoughts and our thoughts only. So let's get down to talking about the Ricoh GR3. All right, first, before we talk about the Ricoh GR3, we got to talk a little bit about the Ricoh GR system and, what was past and what is now present. Now, this camera sort of had a cult following in street photography clubs around the world. I mean, this is meant for the streets. It's a small, compact camera. It's meant to be nondescript. It's meant for you to get into situations and shoot people and shoot things unfolding on the streets that you wouldn't normally be able to do it with a larger camera. And the GR3 continues that lineage in a lot of great ways. First, let's talk about some things that are new with the GR3. Now, first off, it still has that same GR look, but it's slightly more compact. It's very light to use. Build quality feels reasonably good. There is some plastic in there, some magnesium body it feels like, or aluminum, but it feels quite solid. You've got a new sensor inside of this. So gone is the 16.93 megapixel APS-C sensor on the GR2. That's now been replaced with a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor in this GR3. Also, you have image stabilization to the sensor on this now. So those who've been wanting that, it is now in the system. But there are some things missing, like the flash. If you would like the flash on the GR2, you're gonna have to buy an external flash for this. It's gone. I don't know why Ricoh did this. Maybe they feel that their ISO is good enough, but flash photography also has its place in street photography, so I wish they did include that. All right, let's talk about the back of the camera now. Now you have a higher resolution display, which is now touchscreen enabled. So you can use this through focusing, through navigating through the menu system. It's very, very intuitive and it's quite responsive, so I do applaud Ricoh on that. Also, you'll notice that some of the button layouts have been reduced. Actually, it makes it easier to use with one hand, and I can use this camera 90% of the time with one hand only. So, and the buttons feel like where they should be. Now, there has been some complaints of some wobbly dials and so forth. On the version I have, there is no wobbly dial, but Ricoh will fix that for you if you do have that issue. So get in touch with them or your distributor for that. That's pretty much when you look out on the outside. I mean, it looks pretty much like a GR2 for the most part. But let's talk more about the internals of this. Now, as I mentioned, there's an upgraded sensor, there's the image stabilization, but there's also been some upgrades in terms of ISO. 102,400 on the ISO. You're never going to use this. Never. Well, I won't say never, but more likely not, you're not going to use it. But it's there, and I would say that testing the ISO range, you can probably get up to about close to 50,000. It's going to be grainy as hell, but you could use it maybe. So, but 102,000, forget about it. Talking about the lens first, we have an 18mm f2.8, which is equivalent to about 28mm full frame. 2.8 is relatively decent for, good background blur, depth of field, and street photography. Would I like the maybe faster lens? Sure, especially when you're doing night shots, but maybe Ricoh will do something like that in the future. Who knows? What else is new in this? You've got video recording now, 1080p up to 60 frames per second. Some people were complaining, why doesn't it have 4K? Because this is a street photographer's camera. It's not a video camera. Okay, guys? If you want to do video, use your phone for 4K. This is meant to capture photos. So I'll leave it at that. All right, talking about the autofocusing system, that's also been improved. So now we have contrast-based and phase detect, along with phase detection now in this autofocusing system. But as I'll talk about later on in this review, sometimes what you see on paper doesn't always translate to what it's like to use in real life. And that applies to the autofocusing, which, like I said, I'll talk about in just a bit. Okay. Now, another feature that's been improved on the GR3 is macro mode. Now, macro, you were able to go 10 centimeters before. Now you can get as close as 6 centimeters from your subject. Works really well, great depth of field, and I mean, it's great for food shots, watch shots, any kind of shots. Now, what's it like to use the Ricoh GR3? I gotta tell you, it's such a compact camera and it's so nondescript that you can literally just go around and shoot and people don't really notice that you're taking photos. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, because this camera is meant for that look. It's meant for that just what I was just doing right there. Being in the moment, being in the action, capturing those expressions. And you know, that's what it's about. That's what it's like to use the Ricoh GR3. One of the favorite things that I like about this camera, which a lot of people like, of course, is the filters or the color profiles that you can do on these. Now, you can shoot in RAW and JPEG, but of course RAW will stay as it is if you want it that way, but if you want to shoot it in just JPEG alone, you can get those filters right on the images. And from the black and whites that Ricoh does with their images, they are phenomenal. I mean, Ricoh's been known for great black and whites, and this camera doesn't disappoint. And there's also, with any of these color profiles, you can also adjust them to your liking. So if I'm in Vivid, I want to make it, let's say, more saturated than it already is, I can do that. I want to boost up the shadows or the highlights, I can do that as well. Also, another favorite profile is Posi, which a lot of people like. Now, it's very similar to Vivid, but with Posi, it kind of gives you that vintage film look to it. So it's preferred by me and a lot of others out there. I absolutely love it. Hey guys, how are you? We got some people watching us right now. Mind if I take a photo with you? Come on. All right, there we go. Sweet, thanks guys. But really that's what it's like to use the Ricoh GR3. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're looking for a 4K video camera, this is not what you're looking for. This is a street photographer's camera first and foremost. Anything else is just secondary. What it does well, and the images are super sharp out of this camera. I mean, they are blindingly sharp. And it's not just the settings inside of it, it's just because of the image processing and the lens that Ricoh has in the systems. It's phenomenal. I mean, 24 megapixels, you look at these images, you're gonna be like, wow. There's a lot of detail captures. Dynamic range is also really good as well. So you really come out with an image that punches way above its weight class in terms of price and in terms of size. The Ricoh GR3 doesn't disappoint. Now, talking about things that don't disappoint, I'm going to talk about a few things that do sort of disappoint me. But as of today, these are the issues. They can be fixed with future firmware updates, definitely. First, Wi-Fi connectivity, but the Ricoh app has no compatibility to the Ricoh GR3 as of yet. So the only way to get your images out of your camera is essentially taking the SD card out and putting it into your computer or your tablet or whatever you use. Now, there are third-party apps out there that you can download at a price that allow you to access the images, but Ricoh, it's your camera, it's your app. Why aren't they talking to each other? When you release the GR3, why isn't the app updated? Come on, guys, get that update out. Okay, but as I'm saying, as of today, right, April 9th, that app has not been updated. If it is in the future, when you're watching this video, then just ignore what I just said. Another thing that somewhat disappoints me, it's the autofocusing. Now, Ricoh touted this new autofocusing system, as I mentioned, contrast-based phase detect. And when you're hearing both of that, you're thinking to yourself, hey, this has got to be really quick. And the thing is that it's great when it's bright daylight. But as soon as you get an overcast, as soon as you get into, let's say, you're shooting inside of a room or low light, that camera lens is hunting for focusing. And sometimes you miss the shot or it comes out blurry. I've tried many different autofocusing techniques. I even thought it was something wrong with the camera. So I went to the distributor for Ricoh here in Singapore. We checked it out. But it's just as how the camera's performing today. Now, Ricoh is known for firmware updates. They're listening to their customers. They're very on the ball with that. I don't know why a lot of reviewers haven't talked about the autofocusing. Maybe they're shooting in bright daylight and that's it. But for me, it's been sometimes frustrating. So Ricoh, if you're watching this video, please update the autofocusing. It should be faster than this because the camera's phenomenal. Just the autofocusing kind of just takes it down a couple notches. Not a deal breaker, but it could be improved. Now, talking about autofocusing for a second, a lot of you are probably thinking at this point, Bobby, you're supposed to use snap focusing with the GR3. That's what this camera is used for. Okay, yes, and there's a but to this. Now, for those who do not know what snap focusing is, let me try to explain to you in layman's terms. It's like using a rangefinder camera. Now, if I know that Kai Hong, who's my camera guy, is about 1 meter in front of me, I'll set the snap focusing on this camera, just turn it on accidentally, to 1 meter. Now, so basically all I'd have to do is just push down on the shutter button and it will automatically get him in focus. Okay, I don't need to think about it. The camera automatically just knows everything 1 meter away from me will be in focus. You can do that from 1 meter all the way to infinity. However, if I'm walking on the street and I see this beautiful couple here, they're farther than 1 meter away from me, they'll be blurry if I use snap focusing. So there are pros and cons to it. Of course I could move in, but since I'm filming this review for you, I have to be in front of the camera because we're using manual focusing on this. You follow me? That's how it works. And a third thing, which is a very small thing, is this ring on the front of it for using for adapting. This ring comes off quite easily. If I put this camera in my bag, it just sometimes just pops off on its own. So I do wish that had a little bit more attention to it. Now, another thing is battery life. Now, a lot of people have been saying the battery life is hit and miss. A couple things I do want to take note of is that out of the box, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth can be turned on. If it is, turn it off. That will save you on battery life. I've noticed that I get a few hundred shots throughout the day. It's no issues with me. I mean, this is not a kind of a camera that I'm going to be shooting burst mode all the time with it. So I shoot, then I power off. And that's how I use it. So it lasts me throughout the day, no issues. But if you are worried with any camera system, it's always good to buy an extra battery. Final thoughts on the GR3. I like this camera. This is a fun little camera. Beautiful image quality, really punches above its weight class. I love the color profiles of the filters, especially the black and white. Oh, it is just beautiful, beautiful. Highly recommended if you want a small compact camera, especially at this price point. You're not going to be disappointed. And also, I do want to thank Cathay Photos for making this video possible, for providing us the GR3. But like I said before, and I'll say it now, these are our thoughts and our thoughts only. So with that, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. We thank you guys very much for your support. Follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care.